silence of a heavy snowfall is peaceful, but for me, that silence is now a trigger for a memory I've spent years trying to suppress. This happened about 4 years ago, when I was staying at a remote cabin in northern Maine. I was 22, and I had gone there for a week of isolation to finish my college thesis. I thought I was alone. Primera. Why is it wrong? A massive blizzard had moved in earlier than expected. By 8 p.m., the power had cut out, leaving the cabin in total darkness, save for the dying embers in the fireplace. The wind was howling so loudly it felt like the entire structure was shivering. I was sitting on the floor, trying to stay warm, when I heard it. It wasn't the wind. It was a distinct, rhythmic tapping on my back door. I tried to rationalize it. I told myself it was a frozen branch hitting the wood, but the knocking didn't stop. It got louder, more deliberate. I grabbed my flashlight and walked toward the kitchen, my heart hammering against my ribs. I pulled back the small curtain on the door window and shined my light outside. There was a man standing there. He was middle-aged, with a blank, hollow expression, but the thing that made my blood freeze wasn't his face, it was his clothes. It was 10 degrees below zero, with a deadly wind chill, and this man was wearing nothing but a thin, white dress shirt and slacks. No coat, no gloves, not even a hat. He was shaking violently, his skin a pale, sickly shade of blue. He cracked the door just an inch, keeping the heavy security chain engaged. He told me his car had slid off the road, and he had been walking 4 miles. He begged me to let him in just to warm up. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to help him, but then I noticed something that defied all logic. The snow on my back porch was nearly a foot deep. I looked down at the ground behind him. The snow was perfectly smooth. There were no footprints leading up to the stairs. No tracks leading to the door. It was as if he had simply materialized on my porch out of thin air. I felt a wave of cold terror wash over me. I told him I didn't have a phone line, but I would go get my satellite messenger to call for help. The moment I said the word help, his shaking stopped instantly. His face went from desperate to completely stone cold. He didn't say a word. He just leaned forward and pressed his forehead against the glass, staring at me with wide, unblinking eyes. Then he started pushing against the doorknob with his hands, but with his entire body weight, straining the metal chain until it began to creak. I slammed the door shut and bolted the deadbolt. I ran to my bedroom, locked the door, and pushed my dresser in front of it. For the next hour, I heard him circling the cabin. He wasn't knocking anymore. He was whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was low and guttural. When the sun finally rose and the storm cleared, I gathered the courage to go outside. The man was gone. There was no sign of him anywhere. But sitting on the top step of my porch was an old, rusted brass key. It was the spare key to that very cabin key. The owner had told me was lost 10 years ago, after a previous guest had gone missing in the woods. He left that morning and never went back. To this day, I don't know who or what was on that porch, but whenever the wind starts to howl during a snowstorm, I find myself checking the locks on my doors just to be sure.